Hey y'all, it is Monday. It's night, kind of, not really just what I would consider night yet, but it's dark outside. First day of classes is done. Monday pretty much over, and today's topic is going to actually be what AP classes you should take for college credit. Um, I'm at a very generous university. They take a lot of AP classes. They take threes for class credit. They even take a two, um, but try not to get a two, please. But they take threes. But keep in mind that most colleges, or the competitive ones at least, they won't take your threes. They'll look for fours. They'll look for fives. Threes are a little more difficult to get credit for. But if you just so happen to get threes, you can totally slide into a place like Southern University here. No judgment. I mean, that's what I did. It's cheap. And personally, I don't think it matters where you get your degree from. It's the same degree, same knowledge, just a different school. And I'd rather pay less for the same knowledge than more for the same knowledge because it doesn't make any sense to pay more. So if that's your plan, cool. If you want to be competitive and cool and groovy and fancy, do that as well. Up to you. But we're going to start with actually a quick note. Something I didn't know when I was in high school. The AP foreign language classes. Going to be the main ones, plus Japanese and Latin apparently for my school. But I would say French, Spanish, and German. Um, if you get a five on those here, you get 12 hours worth of credit. That's four classes. Um, Pretty much wipes an entire section of your core classes off. Those are your like, core elective kind of sort of area. But if you can get a five on, and I feel like anyone could. I mean, I certainly probably could have gotten a four or five. And I never got a three, on any of my APs. If I would have taken this, if I would have known about it, I definitely would have had 9 or 12 hours, and that's the most efficient thing that I see on here. There's no other sort of loophole or five that'll get you 12 hours. The sciences you can get eight, but for languages you can get four classes worth, which is crazy to me. So keep that in mind. If you're good for language, if you like languages, if you have interest in that, then for sure take an AP language, not AP Lang, specifically an AP foreign language, and if you get a four or five on that, then you'll be pretty much set for that section of core classes. Um, but what I want to start with after that little note is the sciences that you will want to be taking. You're going to stick with biology, chemistry, and physics. Um, Physics is a little scary. As we know, it's one of the most difficult classes to take. Chemistry is also up there, but I liked it. I found I had a good professor. It wasn't too difficult for me. There's also computer science. Computer science is valid. It's becoming more popular. I see a lot of my friends taking it um, this year and last year. It's totally a good, just filler kind of. It's not really pushed as a priority in my school, but it's being discovered, I think. And if you can get your hands on it, I've heard it's a great course. Computers are the future. So if you want to get into that, then totally great class to take. But we're going to start with biology. Biology is usually what you do start with, um, for my school at least, and from what I've heard. Um, Sorry, I've got my Cheerios next to me. Biology, in freshman year, if you get a five, that gets you 8 hours worth of credit. You'll get, for here, you'll get 1107 and 1108. That takes out your science. For my college, we only require you to take 8 hours worth of science, which is two classes. Three plus one is your class plus your lab, but this takes all of that. If you get a four, you get 4 hours. If you get a three, you get 4 hours. Same thing for chemistry. I got a four in chemistry, unfortunately. I only got 4 hours, but if I were to get a five, I would have had 8 hours. I would have had 12, 11, and 12, 12. I only got 12, 11 credit. Um, Physics is a little different because it's multiple classes in one. And we're going to experience this with calculus too soon. But physics specifically, um, let me find it. If you take physics A, um, then you get credit for one class. If you get a three or more, we're looking for a four or a five, preferably for most schools. But if you get a three here, you get credit for 1111. Cool, great. If you take physics B, you get credit for a different one. You get 1112. So you're already up to 8 hours. If you take physics C, mechanics, you get 2211. But if you take physics C, electricity and magnetism, you get 2212. So if you're feeling crazy enough and you take all of the physics, um, A, B, C, and C again, because they're the same kind of. They're the same technically. I don't know if you can actually take both C's. or if they're a separate tree, but whatever. If you take all 4 of those, you can get up to 16 hours because they're completely separate classes that you get credit for, and I think that's great. Um, Unfortunately, we don't have that with calculus, as you'll see here in a second. But I think the physicses are very nice. We take 3s, we're looking for 4s, but they are very difficult. So if you can make the most out of biology and chemistry, try to get your hours done there, because physics is a very difficult AP class, as we know. Infamously difficult, I'd say, top 3 for sure. Um, Very well known to be challenging. A lot of formulas, a lot of math. Physics is just very complicated. And I didn't get my spot in there because my school ran out of places or seats in the class. Unfortunate, but still, I think it would have been very stressful for me. Even though I love physics and I did great in the honors class I took for physics, um, I think it was acceptable. At least I wasn't too mad about not being in it because I already had 4 hours and I knew that it would be just a lot of stress just for another 4 hours. Because all I need is 4 hours more. So I would stick with my biology and chemistry. Biology is very simple. Chemistry is difficult, but it's doable. Physics is kind of a very challenging course. We're going to skip over now to the maths. The maths are very limited. I thought there was only 2. There's actually 3, technically. There's an AP pre-calculus, apparently. I wasn't aware of that. But if you get credit, you get credit for that here. But mainly we have statistics and calculus. I never got to take calculus because I graduated a year early. I probably would have taken it my senior year. Um, Actually, I know for sure I would have. With a lot of my friends, but I took statistics my junior year and I got a 5. I didn't need a 5. I could have gotten a 3 or 4 for credit here, but I got a 5, and that just gives me credit for introduction to statistics. It's a math elective, not a math elective, it's a math class under one of the elective sections. Um, I think it's like the miscellaneous science or math section of my core requirements. But I love that class. I had a lot of friends in there, and I had a great teacher. It was very fun. I think I had the most enjoyment out of that class because it's the least stressful because I'm great at math, and the people I was around too were also good at math. Just a great squad in there, great friends. Um, but if you do go the calculus route, as we know, there's A, B, and B, C. If you get a 4 here, if you get a 4 in calculus A, B, you get 4 hours of math credit. You get a big math, quote unquote big math. There are maths that are worth 3 and maths that are worth 4. 1441 is a big math. And it doesn't matter too much except when calculating your GPA and when referring to what section of core it counts under. So keep that in mind. Do a little research on that if you need to. Just make sure the math all checks out and everything. But AB, if you get a 4, you get credit for that section. But on the BC test, if you get a 3 or 4, you get that same credit. And you can't get the same class credit twice. That just doesn't make any sense. So you actually have to get a 5 on BC to get the 8th hour, which is weird because if you get a 5 in AB, you don't get that. But if you get the 5 in BC, then you do. So calculus is a little difficult, and we do know that it's a very difficult AB courses to begin with. But for my school, you have to get the 5 in BC specifically, not AB, but BC, to get the 8th hour of credit. And if you get a 3 or 4 in BC, you get the same exact credit as you would have gotten just for the 4 in the AB. So I'm not sure if that's. It would make sense for me for AB to be more difficult than BC because if you're looking for a 5 in BC just for the 8th hour, then maybe it's a little easier. I just don't know. If I'm wrong, don't kill me. But that would make sense to me at least. But it's a little. It looks confusing, but it's just odd. If you only take BC, or if you're only going to take one, take BC because clearly you have no chance of getting 8 hours of the credit if you only take AB. So however that works, keep in mind that it's a little finicky, at least for where I go. I'm assuming it's not the same everywhere, but it could be. Now down to statistics. Statistics is so simple. Just a 3 here, and you get intro to statistics credit. That's 3 hours. It's a little math, just a 3-hour class. Simple done and easy. Moving on now to the quote-unquote social sciences. There's actually, I think there's the most AP classes that are social sciences. We have everything from economics to like government and stuff, and the actual histories. Taking economics is great. I love economics. It's my major. There's macro and micro. They each count for micro and macro. There's 2 versions, so don't worry about them being the same. You do get credit for 2 different classes if you take both. That's 3 hours each, 6 hours. You can do 3 for those here. Looking for a 4, ideally 4 or 5. If we're being realistic, in most circumstances, a 5 doesn't matter too much unless it's, like I said, a science or an English, in which case you can get an extra class or more of credit for getting the 5. But for the histories and for the languages, particularly, it doesn't matter. And for the social sciences and the not languages, the English based courses, except for composition. Language and composition, if I would have gotten a 5, I would have gotten 6 hours. I got a 4 and I got 3, so that's fine, it's whatever. But back to the economics, you get 2 different classes, macro and micro. Either way you go, credit for separate classes. So 6 hours there. Same thing. Down here, we have government. Government's pretty much just universal as far as I know. Almost every college requires government. We take 3s. As we know, 4s, 5s are better. You get credit for just intro-level American government all around. That's pretty much a required social science everywhere, as far as I know. Going into history, there's world history and European history. They count for the same thing here. There are colleges that only take one or the other. Be careful of that. There might be classes or colleges that don't even take either. I don't know of any, but there might. I think it's more common to take world over European, but there are some that probably only take European and not world. But here they count for the same thing. If you have 3, that's only 3 hours. So just try not to take both of those because they kind of, at least for here, they overlap. United States history is different. Here it's a different class, different history you get credit for. I took it. I got a 4 in there, I think. Yeah, got a 4 in there. I got the credit. There's no bonus for getting a 5 in that class, so that's fine. Human geography. Let's not. Depending on your school, you're taking it either as a freshman or a senior. My school, unfortunately, took it as freshman. I dropped out of it, actually, to take business because it was just horrible. Very much suffering, random knowledge, unapplicable as far as I know. Probably the least favorite of a lot of my friends that are in the AP squad as well. If you want to, sure, but even my school only takes a 4. We don't take a 3 here. So just keep that in mind. It's difficult for no reason, and we only take even 4s. So if you get a 3, you suck. Don't really mean that, but there's also some that are in the mix here. There's music theory. If that's what you're into, I took psychology. That's a good elective all around. It is a lot of information, a lot of memorizing terms and people, but I enjoyed it. 3 or up, I got a 5 in there, but a 3 or up gets you credit for intro to psychology. That's on your lower end of the electives, social electives, but it does count under the core here. It's 3 hours. It does just fine. Going into the languages, or the Englishes, it's a lot more selective than I thought. There is an AP capstone and stuff that I'm aware of. There's more AP languages or AP Englishes, but we actually only take 1 here. So I probably should have put this at the beginning. I'm sorry I didn't think about that. But there is only here we only take AP language and composition or AP literature and composition. They count for the same credits. So be careful here. You might be tempted to take both. Don't. I took AP Lang, which is fine. I got a 4. I got credit for English 101. It's 3 hours. If I would have gotten a 5, I would have gotten 101, 102. That would have been 6 hours, but that's okay. But the deal here is that you can't get the same credit twice. So the only, and I wouldn't even do this, but the only understandable reason you would take both AP Lang and AP Lit is so that you can, if you don't get a 5 in AP Lang, you can get the credit for 102 by getting a 5, but you have to get a 5 in AP Lit. And I still wouldn't do that because I already have the credit for the 101. So why push myself to get a 5 for only 3 hours? Because if you already have 3 hours secured, you don't need to do the most for a 5 just to get another 3 hours. So I wouldn't do that. But that is the only English that we have here that we accept. And that's a big English, sure. I mean, everyone here has to take 101 and 102, but that's it. There's nothing else AP-wise that we take for languages or for Englishes. Last thing I want to have environmental science here. It's a little more selective, I know, than the big three sciences. But here you would get credit for 4 hours with a three or 4 or 5. You don't get double credit for a five. It's just 4 hours no matter what. Um, but that's pretty much it. I mean, you've got your miscellaneous. There's some arts that we take. I would steer away from everything outside of the core four, unless it's a foreign language. Like I said, foreign languages are overpowered. Absolutely go for those, and I feel like they're not excessively difficult, especially if you already have experience with the language. Um, there's um, there's also, like I said, the outlier classes. Like there's pre-calculus, psychology. There's even Latin, AP Latin that we take here. There's art history, art drawing, or drawing art, whatever it is. There's 2D design. We require fours for those, and I didn't even know those existed when I was in high school. So probably don't go for anything like that. Fine arts AP, I don't want to roast you, but I'm just saying it's highly selective unless you really actually want to make that your major. If you're a music person, unless you're being music majored, don't do music. At least for AP. I mean, you might have to take a music appreciation once you actually get here into college. That's cool. It's fine. Everyone does that. But for AP, stick to foreign languages and the central four, and don't forget economics and stuff. That does count in your social studies. Um, for me, it actually counts for my major classes. It'll count towards the actual like business, like the economics part of my economics degree, which is great. I think kind of cool actually. Um, but for most, it'll just be a social elective or a social science elective, social study elective, however you want to say it. But that's about it. I'm gonna wrap that up. I did kind of ramble a lot. My apologies, but just to finish it up, keep in mind threes are tough, and a lot of us, wish for fours and fives, but if you get threes, then it's okay to settle. I'm in a place that takes threes, and I never even got a three. I do it because it's cheaper, and it's the same degree, same opportunities. The people here, I think, are um, better, more humble than maybe the parent-sponsored rich kids that go to the more competitive schools. That's just my personal opinion. You don't have to listen to that, but if you're here, I do appreciate you. Thank you for sticking around. This was a bit of a long one. I love you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next one.